Hi boys and girls, welcome back to another week of STEAM lessons. This week and next week we're going to be talking all about ecosystems. So an ecosystem is just a biological community, so a living community of interacting organisms, so organisms that work together, and their environment, so the place that they live. So we are going to start talking about our ecosystems by talking about flowers. So you might be thinking, flowers are really pretty, I like to look at them, I like to give them to people, but what role do they have to play? Why are they important? So that's where we're gonna start. We have this book, we're gonna kind of be getting a sneak peek today because we'll read this book next week, but it's called What If There Were No Bees? And it's a book about the Grassland Ecosystem by Suzanna Slade. We're just gonna look at this one page today. So it says, flowers are a bee's best friend. They're often filled with a sweet liquid called nectar. Bees sip nectar to keep up their energy. Honeybees also use nectar to make honey. So we heard that bees and flowers really like each other. They're best friends, the book said. And we heard that the bees actually get energy from the flowers. So that is how an ecosystem works. Energy is being transferred from different organisms. So for example, we are organisms and we get energy from the food that we eat. So bees are organisms and they get energy from the flowers, the nectar in the flowers. So let's look back over at our chart here. We know what an ecosystem is. It's basically any area that is outside that has living beings. So we're looking at the grassland ecosystem, and what this is called is a food web. So if you can see this arrow, we've got purple arrows all over this web. That's showing the flow of energy. So that's showing the way that the energy is moving. So we start here with our flowers. Okay, so we've got our flowers at the bottom here, and who likes the flowers? The bees. So this energy is being transferred to the bee. The bee is making honey, and who loves to eat honey? Bears. So bears are getting energy from the honey that comes from the bees, that comes from the flowers. So that's the way that the energy is transferred. Let's look at another one. So we've got the flowers, the bees are drinking the nectar from the flowers, and then a spider eats the bee. So now it has the bee's energy, and then a bird eats the spider, and a fox eats the bird. So all of these animals are getting their energy starting with the flowers. On the other side, we have a bee who gets eaten by a toad, and then the toad gets eaten by a snake, and the snake gets eaten by an owl. So again, the energy is transferring from the flower to the bee, from the bee to the toad, from the toad to the snake, and the snake to the owl. So even though our fox, our bear, and our owl are not getting energy directly from the flowers, if there was no flower, there would be no bees. If there were no bees, these animals wouldn't have any way to get their energy. So that is how our grassland food web works. Your challenge this week is a really fun one. You are going to think about your favorite food to eat. I've chosen spaghetti and meatballs. I love to eat spaghetti and meatballs. How does spaghetti and meatballs come from flowers? Well, it probably doesn't directly, but if I web it out just like we used our grassland web, I can show how all of the food that I'm eating comes from plants when we're thinking about energy. So I have my spaghetti bowl right here, and I have my sauce, my noodles, and my meatballs. Well, I know that to make sauce, I need tomatoes. Where do tomatoes come from? Plants, that's right. And there are even flowers on tomato plants. Where do my noodles come from? Well, they come from a plant called wheat. Again, that's another plant. My meatballs come from a cow, but the cow can't have the energy to live unless it eats grass. So you can see that every part of my meal can be traced back to a plant. Your challenge this week is to make your very own web. I want you to start with your favorite food. So think about a food that you love to eat, and then I want you to think about what goes into making that food. So if you love macaroni and cheese, you're going to need macaroni, you're going to need cheese. And then I want you to think about where the macaroni and cheese comes from and see if you can trace it all the way back to a plant. Once you've made your web, you can either draw it or you can write it, but I want you to make a diagram. And once you've made that, I want you to send it to your teacher and she will send it on to me, and I'll see you next time.